David, have you ever seen, they're often referred to as machine elves or ETs in session, or and if you have, what was your impression? What did you think they were? Where do you think they're
Oh,
from?
oh man, this is one of my favorite topics of conversation. And
Yes.
I uh I don't I have not yet taken any steps towards writing a book, but I will say when I write a book, it's going to be about this topic of conversation. And I did get a chance to ask Graham Hancock. We hosted him, I Am Life did last year, and this was actually the thing that I asked him about. Um, and I'm going to circle it back to the bird tribes and the Winyapai, the celestial immortals, is another, or prior to me meeting these beings through the grandmother tea, it was about 3 years into my journey with the grandmother tea that I actually met them through grandmother. But if the first time I met these beings was through smoking DMT.
Mm.
I didn't know what to call them at that time, so I called them the DMT allies. And all I could recover from each of these experiences, that there was certain consistent characteristics of my encounters with these beings. And I also had already read back years prior, I had read Rick Strassman's book, DMT, the Spirit Molecule. I was already aware that
Great book. I love that book. Yeah.
that some 90% of the people in his studies reported having a communion with some higher
Yeah.
consciousness or extraterrestrials, or however their worldview saw it,
Hmm.
angels, bird tribes, God, whatever, all of that. And so the main characteristics of these beings, which at that time I called the DMT allies, was that there was a sense of communing with the higher consciousness. There was a holographic visionary state, not like I'm seeing visions in front of me, but like I'm in a
Yeah.
whole other,
It's full three-dimensional kaleidoscope. Everything. It's
yeah,
all encompassing. It's not like a movie screen. You're not watching it. You're literally in it, and you are it.
yeah. And, before you can even consciously think of a question, or before you can consciously become aware of the question you're asking, this being is already showing you the answer through some kind of a telepathic connection, through a
Hmm.
combination of visions, feelings, sounds. There's auditory frequencies
Yeah.
happening. There's usually a sense of deep trust and deep peace, because your ego
Hmm.
could just as easily be losing it,
Yeah.
because you're in this whole other, like, one time, the first time I encountered these beings was in a ceremony around a fire. And when I opened my eyes, I actually had forgotten that I was there
Mm.
around a fire in ceremony, because I was in a whole other place. Um, but typically, there's a space of heart coherence that is needed to attune to that frequency, because
Hmm.
just because you drink the medicine, or you work with
Smoke the DMT. Yeah.
does not necessarily mean you know how to attune to that particular station. You know, a
That's
lot
right.
of a lot of people talk about this, that we are simply cosmic antenna, and that if this multidimensional connection to all of creation is our birthright, then this
Hmm.
is something we all have the potential to learn. And I feel like each of these experiences with, I'm just going to call them the Winyapai, again, celestial immortals. You call
Yeah.
them machine elves, but I'm just going to call them the Winyapai. Um,
Hmm.
every time I can connect with them, it feels like the most sacred experience that I've been longing for my entire
Hmm.
life. It feels like I am reconnecting with higher consciousness that I have been grieving my whole life, that I was born into a
Right.
dense
You had
matrix
no
without
idea
way
you were
of.
missing them that much, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's typically a space of heart coherence that you have to be in, a space of stillness in the mind, stillness in the body. If you're being busy in your body and in your thoughts, those opportunities may come, but you may not even notice them. And then they pass and they're gone, and
Yeah.
the channel's not there. Um, but there's usually a sense that you're communing with a very benevolent consciousness that exists in a different realm of space time, let's say fifth dimension or beyond, that
Hmm.
for them, they can become aware of humans simply by looking, and they can just become aware of us. But for us, it's through these
Hmm.
experiences that we're actually capable of expanding our range of frequencies, and then even enough to tune to that frequency there's often another more characteristics of these experiences is that you feel like you're getting a psychic surgery. I know in the
Yeah.
Santo Daime, which is an ayahuasca church and religion originating from Brazil, they call these beings the daime surgeons.
Daime surgeons.
Sometimes they have humanoid bodies, sometimes they have insectoid-like bodies. And I
Yeah.
really am beginning to feel that most people who have had experiences of so-called abduction was probably in the DMT realm of their sleep,
Yeah.
where they literally opened up that connection while they were in their bed. Because when we dream, our
Yeah.
dreams are experienced as real as our real life
That's right.
experience when we're awake. And so who's to say one is real and one is not? They're just different planes of consciousness that we're tapping into. And the last thing I'll share on that, I have a whole book I want to write on it. But the last thing I'll share on that is I think that because each time I have these experiences, my overwhelmingly consistent question to these beings is, how do I maintain this connection? How do I support
Yeah.
the embodiment? How do I anchor this frequency into life forever? Like, how do I
Yeah.
do that? And they basically said that these are training wheels. These moments, they're literally giving us software and hardware updates. I
I
know
got
as
such a sense of that this morning, man. Like I was like literally asking the same question, and it was just kept showing me that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. You know, that's what we're doing. But what do you? And I'm like, okay, you're right. I know. I knew that. Can I take it all with me though? I want to take it all with me. You know. And they're like, you have to trust that you're taking everything with you that you can, and you are.
I think that these experiences are reminders. I think it's one of the things that is most needed in the world is for people to be able to for it to be within our culture that we actually have safe opportunities where we can have education, where we can have the opportunity to commune with
Yeah.
the Godhead that is within each and every single man and woman and child on this planet. And I think that if enough people had that, there would be, a great healing overnight.